Hi everyone, Witch and Wonder here, tuning in to talk a little bit about the full moon. I'm really blessed to have a lot of sweet friends and fans that have been asking me questions, and a common question lately is, how do you interact with the full moon? Do you do any full moon rituals? And I think that it's so interesting because the full moon is kind of like a gateway drug to all of this other amazing magical like cycle of nature magic. So, I'm not going to do a whole like, this is what the moon is, and this is how you can do a manifestation with the moon. Like, that's really not my flavor. But I would love to talk about my relationship with the moon, the ways that I have ritualized along with the moon cycles. So, I'll just give a little bit of an overview. Take a sip of coffee, even though it's nighttime. I'm in full moon energy right now. There is a very important full moon occurring as I make this video. I love these videos to be timeless. So, anywhere you are right now, if it's a full moon, I'm sending you my blessings and my strength. I'm going to tune in a little and see if kind of there's anything that really needs to come out from the moon specifically, or from any angels, ancestors, and guides that have anything to share with the world. Um, and my sweet, sweet subscribers, please subscribe. Please turn on the notification bell. Please like this video if you like it and leave a comment. Okay. Um, yeah, so first I'll say I think that there's a common misconception, one that I have fallen prey to in the past, which is that the full moon is for manifestation, when in actuality, the new moon is where we do the manifestation spells and the manifestation work. So, one of these days, probably on the Patreon, I will walk y'all through a whole manifestation cycle. But my focus in spirituality really isn't manifestation. Some of you that are on the Patreon and Creators Coven saw that I did a beautiful manifestation spell under a Scorpio new moon. Mwah. My moon is in Scorpio, so it was really yummy for me. But that was really just the beginnings of my experimentation with manifesting with the moon. Before that cycle began for me, this most recent new moon, I was really engaging with the moon, not necessarily to harness its energy, but to read its energy. And as someone who does a lot of sex magic and shadow work, our relationship manifested in a really unique and beautiful way. Um, I've had a lot of communications with the moon. Some of you have seen some of the stories that are on the Patreon about some of the pleasure spells that have come to fruition under full moons. And I'm really blessed to engage with that energy. I'm a very feminine person. I'm a very maternal person. I feel a lot of connection to my womb. And what really feels important to say is that, this is so funny too, because my housemate has this moon book that they, kind of started to read, but it was very gendered. And I think that one of the ways that we have kind of overcorrected for the patriarchy is kind of by over gendering magic for women, when really that's not the case. So I kind of want to just unpack that a little bit. When I'm saying things like feminine and womb, even when we're engaging with the menstrual cycle, all of us have energetic centers that are associated with that energy, whether or not we have the physical manifestation of that. So that's a very packed sentence, but that essentially means just because you're a dude, just because you're non-binary or gender expansive or don't really resonate with femininity, doesn't mean that you can't engage in that energy, right? You still have access to it through cultivation, or I guess through cultivating a relationship with those energies within yourself, which could be obstructed by some shadow work, right? Um, there are a lot of things that prevent us from connecting with our energetic womb or our energetic femininity, the energetic mother within us. And when we engage with the sun, we're engaging with the inner child. And when we engage with the moon, we're engaging with an inner mother archetype, right? And so some of us might kind of feel a little tension around motherhood or what a mom is and all that stuff. And it is safe to release all of that bullshit so that you can access the true nature of magic within you. Um, so that's a really great message. Thanks, Moon, for teaching us so much about ourselves. So, I this is how I would do a full moon ritual. Generally, I follow my intuition. When I do spell work, I invite, angels, ancestors, and guides. I invite my higher self to enter the space. And in my third eye and in my mind's eye, I begin to envision what the spell in the future looks like, to achieve the energy that I'm trying to cultivate or access. And then, I was just moving the microphone a little closer because I leaned back a little. I hope you can still hear me. And then from that future point, I start to attract myself forward to the fullest manifestation of the spell that is going to serve me in the way that I am intending for it to serve me. And when I'm working with full moon energy, my energy is not necessarily to get something or to create something or to manifest and, do that kind of work. It's really during the full moon time, a time to look back and see how the cycle went from new moon to now, which there's a few markers on our way when we're working with the moon. But also just to receive the energy and see what messages the moon has for me. And what I've noticed now that I'm kind of experimenting with my channeling and experimenting with really leaning into my psychic abilities in a way that is more tangible, I'm noticing that when there's a full moon, my psychic energy is peaked and I can really feel a lot energetically. I'm very emotionally sensitive. I feel very relaxed into my femininity, which there's a very feminine quality is kind of like changing our minds and listening to our bodies and, pursuing what feels natural and fluid and good. And those, that's why I think that it's really difficult to, there are a lot of reasons it's difficult to engage with magic in our modern world, but one of the biggest obstructions to that is how we feel about or how we manifest masculine archetypes in the patriarchy, because those full moon fluid energies generally aren't really conducive to our masculine world. So like on days that, when I was having a day job and working in an office and, being this capitalist person, which was very effective for me. I learned a lot during that time. I really appreciate that chapter of my life and would be happy to revisit it if I need to. But on full moon days when I feel really fluid and I want to pursue like pleasure, feminine, water, maternal energy, those things aren't, they're not a match. They don't really hold each other very well, right? And healthy masculinity can hold femininity endlessly, but in like these toxic masculine patterns that we get in, it can actually be really difficult for us to access that feminine energy. So some of the things that I work with when I'm working with a full moon is like grieving the nature of society, grieving the fact that I don't really have as much freedom and fluidity in my life as I would like, right? And I think that that's important to name, even though this is kind of my personal experience with it. I know that not everyone out there is going to really resonate with that specific example. But we often think of magic as this thing that we like go into a closet and we light our little candles and we are communing with our altar, and that is a part of it. That's a big part of it. It's a beautiful part of it. But some of the magic also occurs when we're living our daily life. So, for example, today I'm in my full moon energy and I'm really emotional. And so, what it requires of me, even in a life that's really conducive to my emotionality and to my fluidity, what I have to do is kind of set some boundaries and say to the people in my life and to the opportunities in my life and to the story of my life, essentially. I have to send out a beacon that says, I'm going to hold my energy here in its feminine fluidity and pursue that flowing full moon energy that is calling me to whatever it is that it's calling me to. And in order to do that, I really have to be receptive to the messages that the moon is giving me. So a lot of the work that I'm doing around this full moon, not just this one, but all full moons, is dropping in to my feelings, which I talk about a lot on this channel. I'm sure this is no surprise. Dropping into those feelings, behaving from those feelings with integrity, and then receiving the healing that was brought up for me to work on. So this can be a really stimulating time for people. A lot of people are crying around a full moon. Some of you know that crime increases during a full moon. We become emotionally stimulated and repressed. Moon is the energy of the subconscious. So our repressed subconscious wounds often do come to the surface. And what I'm noticing is, like, in this past manifestation cycle with the moon, which is normally not how I'm engaging with the moon, all of the messages that are coming through today are things that are really conducive to manifesting what it is I set my intention for on the new moon. So now I'm really seeing the full moon as a check-in. I'm like, do I need to redirect my energy? Am I in the place of abundance that I wished for? What kind of tweaks do I need to make? Like, really what I think is important, and I will probably kind of like finish out this piece and talk about the ritual aspect of it. But what is really important to me about the moon, and the full moon especially, is that the psychic energy is really potent. And we have the opportunity to go to a full moon and rest, like, in the arms of this maternal subconscious divinity that exists within us and all around us. And as we rest, the moon in its fullness and in its abundance is willing to show us and tell us what we need to hear in order to travel through the rest of the moon cycle with grace and ease and healing. And when we open ourselves up to being receptive to those messages from the moon, we are accessing a lot of humility. We are accessing a sense of innocence. And we are also in a space of gratitude for blessings that the moon can highlight, right? When the full moon is out, nature has the opportunity to experience an abundance of light and is able to see things in the darkness, right? So all of these subconscious things, the full moon is willing to say, like, here is everything for you. You are held in compassion. The universe has your back and is willing to hold you as you cry or scream or process the things that are occurring in your emotional and subconscious world right now. Yummy. So if I were doing a ritual, I would cleanse my space. I cleaned my room this morning for the full moon. I organized my closet a little bit. I engaged with my duties in the world. And I took a bath. I took a salt bath so that I could experience some psychic energy immersed in water. I read a spiritual book and underwent a little initiation in that book, so that was really sweet. And the thing about that is I didn't go take a bath because it was a full moon. I took a bath to receive the full moon energy, and I just took whatever book I had, and then when I open that book and I go into that space, there's an initiation waiting for me. So that's not a spell, that's just a synchronicity, right? I know that the performative planning aspect of spells is really fun, but I invite us to also know that spell work is happening to us all the time in collaboration with the universe. Um, so having a, if you want to set up your altar in order to engage with spell work in that way, you can have a bowl of water with you. Salt water is really nice for healing, and then clear water for psychic powers. I'm imagining you with 2 bowls of water on your altar, one with salt and one without, so that you can engage in the healing energy and receive the psychic qualities of the clear bowl of water. Moonstone, opal, pearls, anything that has a white maternal energy is really sweet for the moon to honor it. And then I often also leave water on my windowsill so that I can absorb the full moon energy and have a little bottle of moon water. And I use those moon waters in spells throughout. Sometimes I'll mark it with the astrology sign that it was under, so that later if I need a spell with that energy, I can use that water. Yeah, so I generally just follow my intuition. I give myself a reading with my cards. I'd be happy to give you a reading with my cards if you want to do a little energy exchange. And yeah, I think the important thing, just to like close this out, is that really the full moon is inviting us to receive and to tune in and to engage. And if you're having this feeling like, oh, I have to do something or be something, I really invite you to just remember that this work of magic, a lot of it is learning to receive unconditional love in abundance. And it's always on the other side for us, like it's always coming to us and around us when we're able to tune into it. But a really sweet aspect of that is that during the full moon, we can not forget, but really just lay down. And now I'm imagining you at your altar, maybe writing down all of the things that you can let go of, the things that you can release to the moon that is too heavy for you to carry. Anything that's blocking you from receiving the unconditional love and abundance that's coming at you from Source and from the universe and from God, and pouring down and raining over you, any of those obstructions to that, like grief or pain or heartache or betrayal or guilt or shame, all of those things can come onto your altar for this moon, any full moon, so that you can lay that down, let that shit go, and make room for your higher self and the spirit of abundance to fill those spaces. I really hope you have an amazing full moon. I'm sending lots of love.